Welcome to the San Jose Hockey Now podcast. I'm Sheng Peng, editor-in-chief of San Jose Hockey Now. You can also find my work on Twitter at Sheng_Peng and also find me at NBC Sharks.
And I'm Keegan McNally. You can find me on Twitter at halfwall_hockey, my website half-wallhockey.com, or at San Jose Hockey Now. This week, it's been a rough week. It's been rough. I will say that. But what do we have for everybody, Sheng?
It's been a rough week, but GM Mike Grier is here to allay your fears and to give you a dose of hopefully good medicine. Mike Grier, he's not on the show, but Mike Grier talked today to local media, and he talked about Will Smith's development plan, Macklin Celebrini's injury, Quentin Musty, and also Luca Cagnoni and Kasper Halttunen. So we're going to get into some of what he said.
We're going to cover all of everybody's favorite Sharks prospects and players that he covered, because it kind of felt like it was a press conference to address the development of the young guys, as this season is going to be a lot about developing those guys for the future. It's kind of already turned into that sort of season, it feels like, after the Sharks have started winless in their first 6 games. 6 games?
Shout out to Snipe City and Ben Affleck with the Taco Bell bag graphic.
Yeah,
that kind of season. Cigarettes.
Yeah, just just with your sad tacos. It's not been great. I think in the beginning we thought maybe it was going to be we were getting like some competitive games, and then we've had a few not so competitive games now, and we still can't find the win. Hopefully soon, but Mike Grier felt like he needed to address some concerns, it sounds like.
Well, strictly, though, I want to make that clear that last year the Sharks started off 0-10-1, and Mike Grier came down to talk about that start, and it was strictly about that start.
Yeah.
This year, it's just a coincidence
that they're bad.
The Sharks are also winless in October again when Mike came down. Today was in all intents and purposes, was to talk about Will Smith's development plan and Macklin Celebrini's injury.
I like that we're both rocking a green/blue shirt today. I just noticed that. I don't know if yours is green or blue. Mine's
is blue. Yeah.
Oh, mine's green. They both look similar colored.
I'm showing some neck here. Yeah, Mackenzie
Block
was making fun of me. Yeah, because he saw a little bit more of my.
Was he? All right. Well, let's. You
saw a little bit of the white here that usually is not clear, is not obvious.
It looks good.
Thank you.
Anyway, let's start with Will Smith, everybody's favorite William Smithium, who sat out a game this week, and it felt like the Twitter world caught on fire for a minute, for like a half a second. Everybody was like, what do we do? He just had his best game of the year. Why are we sitting him? But I think they kind of preemptively were like, listen, it's not performance-based. We have these plans in place for Smith to sit games in the beginning of this season.
Yeah, I just wonder why they didn't announce it from the beginning.
I
I
felt like it was
asked Mike that, but maybe it's possible that they kind of wanted to see how. No, they claim that even Will Smith's camp. I put a story out about that. That Will Smith's camp says that this was from the very beginning. Okay, so that's fine. So I don't know why they didn't announce it from the very beginning, instead of having Ryan Warsawski tell us and then say, like, "Oh, it's not performance." And leave it up to interpretation, which I believed him, but you leave it up to interpretation. If you put it out from October 10th, these guys are on a pitch count or whatever you want to call it, a development plan, then there would be a lot less. Again, I'm not sure why they just didn't say it from the beginning.
Yeah, kind of strange. Well, I'm speculated it probably would happen or could happen because of I think Anaheim did that last year with Leo Carlsson.
Right. I thought Anaheim announced it early too.
They probably did. I mean, earlier than the day of that they're going to pull him out of a game. I don't know. We'd have to confirm with that, but I wasn't mad about it. I thought it was fine. I did not think they were winning that Jets game, regardless if Will Smith was in or not. It seemed like it was destined for failure, and then 8-3.
It's fine. I think that it is sort of a new era in the league in that sense. The first major example being Leo Carlsson of this very specific plan.
Sure.
But I think you have the right people behind it. Mike Potenza, just with the Golden State Warriors, for a long time with the Sharks. And also, too, Rick Celebrini, Mike Grier dropped that interesting tidbit that Rick Celebrini is a part of at least Macklin's plan.
Yes.
And Macklin has a plan, too. And it sounds like Macklin could also. Mike Grier was very vague
careful
about what games these guys would miss. Would it be back-to-backs, competitive advantage? As the Sharks start off 0-4-2. But competitive advantage, not want to give that away. But it does sound like Macklin will miss some games too, as part of a plan. To miss games, and with the idea that both of them will later in the season, maybe the second half of the season, take on a more full schedule after kind of building their body up in the first half. It was interesting to hear that Rick Celebrini, Macklin's dad, but also too, very importantly, the director of sports medicine and performance for the Warriors, is also part of Macklin's plan, which makes sense, really. I know that at first you think, oh, his dad is involved, but it's not just his dad. His dad is one of the foremost experts in sports performance in the world. So it'd actually be stupid to not consult with him.
I felt like we speculated on that last week as well.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
We said maybe.
Because people were like, oh, how could they let him play opening night? Oh, the Sharks forced him to play opening night. I highly doubt that, again, because not only do you have Mike Potenza there, but you have Rick Celebrini there. And Rick is not going to let his son get hurt so the Sharks could sell a couple hundred more tickets.
Yeah.
So I think it's all fine. I just, again, I'm a little not baffled, but you would have saved yourself some headache by just announcing at the beginning of the season that, hey, we're going to do this. Maybe they thought that it does kind of suggest that, hey, making the playoffs may not be the priority this year.
Yeah, maybe they were like, if we get out the gate and Macklin and Smith are 1-2 and they're both healthy,
right.
Win
we
games.
start off 6-0-0,
Yeah.
and Macklin Celebrini got 11 points, and Will Smith's got 9 points. Hey, maybe maybe they can play it back-to-back in Winnipeg.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe, and that's fine. I think you need a couple games to adjust, and then now knowing what we know about Macklin's injury, you readjust. The plans may change. Or I've always been there. Wink, wink. Who knows? But he also mentioned,
again, that's what they say. I believe it. Like I talked with people in Will Smith's camp that this was brought up before Will signed. It was
at least an option
in the discussion. And anyway, talking about just Will's play in general, it definitely has been up and down. He hasn't acclimated to the AHL immediately, but there also have been some good signs, though. I did want to mention that I'm going to put out an article later today, but there's actually an area that Will has done pretty well in, an important area. And it's something that I've seen and we've all seen, but we don't really notice just because it's not turning into goals or points, which is not necessarily Will's fault. But Sport Logic, offense generating plays, that's a stat that I've put out a lot over the years, right? It's just basically all plays that lead to good scoring chances. It's a very rough way of putting it. And as of the last time I had the stat, Will was second on the Sharks in that stat per 20 at 5-on-5. And
on 5-on-5. Interesting.
Yeah, so things like that pass to Luke Cunning yesterday. Yep. The first actually moment of Will Smith's career as a Shark.
He dropped somebody.
Breaking Sam Girard's ankles and then getting that pass to Luke Cunning. That is offense generating play. There's no doubt about that, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask you, though, and we're going to talk about him later, but who do you think is, or let's save it for later, who do you think is number one on the Sharks in that stat? I think it's pretty obvious if you watch the games, but I
have an idea. We'll talk about it.
Yeah,
later,
let's talk about that later. But anyway, so Will is doing stuff offensively. It's not leading to points on the board yet, but
yeah,
he is doing that. He is getting better defensively.
That's what
still
Mike
very raw there.
Mentioned specifically, right? He said he's defensively on the other side of the puck. He's improved for the beginning of the year,
right?
Now.
And it was really bad at the beginning.
So he's improved.
so it had to improve, and I think it has improved. So,
yeah,
Yeah, I think one way you can look at the improvement, one very quick way you can look at it is that the Sharks have done a better job of curtailing the odd man rushes. And I have a clip that I have an article coming out about Will that shows a mistake he made. Actually, I think his first shift in the St. Louis game that led to a 3-on-2. And he's doing a better job than we've seen that in all the games except for the Winnipeg game, which actually Will didn't play. That the Sharks have not given up as many odd man rushes. It hasn't been like a track meet like it was last year. Track meet, one-sided track meet, like it was last year. So I think there has been improvement. I know that there is an argument for him to play in the AHL. There is an argument for him to play at wing. But one thing that Mike Grier also said that's important too is that the plan is that the idea of the plan that was developed at the beginning of the season, they know all the games that Will's going to play. They're scheduled to play. Same thing with Macklin, except obviously Macklin's hurt now. But they had that all mapped out basically for the beginning of the season. And so anyway, the idea is for Will to be in AHL all season. And really, like we actually have stressed here that the idea is that Will gets better, noticeably better from now to December to February to April. So we'll see if that happens. That's the plan. The plan of building up the body, that the game days that Will doesn't play, the days that he is scratched, that he is not, they aren't off days. And that's something that I've talked with people that load management isn't a great term because load management is used in the NBA. It often suggests older players like LeBron James or Kawhi Leonard or guys like that who don't play back-to-backs because they're older or they're injury prone like Leonard. And that's not the case with Will Smith here. This is more about development. So that's why I call it development plan. I don't call it load management plan. It's just my thoughts on that one. But anyway, yeah. So I have no problem with it. All makes sense, even with Macklin. So it is unfortunate that we're not going to see them every game of the season together. Hopefully, we will by the end. But I think it all makes sense.
I enjoy that they kind of moved him off that, like, because he was stapled to that second line for the first 3 games or so, and then they kind of shuffled it around a bit. I liked that because I felt like it was getting a little bit. I think you had Kostin and Zetterlund on his wings, and it wasn't working at all.
It wasn't
and
clicking,
they kind of adjusted it to give him a couple different guys to play with, and even though Cunnin still has some issues with finishing, he does get into positions.
And he and
Gaudreau
help defensively, and they can help take faceoffs too. In yesterday's game, Cunnin was helping with the strong side faceoffs in the defensive zone. At least I saw that at least once at a key moment against Colorado.
What I would worry more about is if we never saw any of these moments from Smith where he does anything impressive or makes really good passes, and at least we're seeing flashes, and that's in regular season NHL play. It's not preseason. It's not the AHL. It's regular NHL games. We're still seeing moments where it's Will Smith. So don't worry. Everybody needs to not freak out so much. I think that's the big takeaway. And I think we're getting there. It's just you want to see your rookie put up, 15 points in the first 15 games as opposed to none in their first 6.
Tough for Will too to come out at the same time as Macklin because Macklin is in kind of a class by himself.
Sure.
And Will is still an incredible prospect. And I will say I'm not just saying it because I like Will or I had to deal with him. I believe in Will Smith. I've said it from the beginning. I think he's such a smart player that it's gonna come. It's just a little slower than Sharks fans want, but it's gonna come.
Yeah. Last thing, real quick, because it kind of makes me a little perturbed. Even myself, like I notably was a Matvei Michkov fan, and I in my fake drafting for the Sharks, I drafted Matvei Michkov, and Matvei Michkov's doing pretty well in Philly to start the year. But at the same time, stop trying to compare the two. Michkov was never coming to San Jose. We have Smith.
We don't know
He's
that
a great
for
player.
Sure. So
but either way,
I'm going to argue with you there that you can still make the comparison, but it's again Relax, it's too early.
That's
Let's
what I'm
talk
trying to
10
say.
years from now.
Yeah, A, that, and B, yes, we don't know that for sure. But what's done is done. Past is past. We don't have Matvei Michkov. So every time Matvei Michkov scores a goal, all I hear about is, and we have Smith in San Jose. And it's like, dude, give it. He's 19.
Alex didn't draft David Reinbacher.
Exactly. Or, I don't know, Tyler Boucher or whoever the hell.
But
there's bad draft picks, and Will Smith's not one of them. So just give him time.
he's definitely more physically mature, so that helps him definitely just drop into the NHL, kind of like Macklin Celebrini. But it is way, way, way too early. You want to run a lap about it 3 years. And I also would have drafted Michkov too if he had interviewed with the Sharks.
Yeah, if he was available.
If he was, he was available, but it would have just been like, well, I don't want to come to you, and that would have been a whole issue. And maybe you don't want to deal with a headache. If he was willing to come with the Sharks, I would have drafted him over Will Smith. If he did not want to come to the Sharks, then I would not have touched him.
Yep.
So that's my opinion on Matvei Michkov, and that's always been my opinion going back to the 2023 draft.
Agreed.
But either way, though, it's 6 games into the season, into both of their rookie years. And so let's see how it ends up. There are plenty of rookie stories, guys who start off quick that slow down. Actually, I'm just speaking of stocky, strong Russian wingers, a classic example. Sergei Samsonov, same draft as Joe Thornton. Joe Thornton was the number 1 pick. I think Samsonov was number 8. And Samsonov won the Calder Trophy. Joe Thornton scored 7 points in 55 games or something like that. Who had a better career? Relax. Give it some time.
Yeah, 100%. It's okay, guys.
Anyway, if it's not okay in 3 years, we will be talking about it, all right?
Either way. And that's why you should all just do your own drafting and put it out and make your own websites. Because it's fun. You can go and say, hey, look, I made my own team. I'm so smart. Pat on the back. But for now, Sharks have great build. And we got Celebrini, so who cares? Speaking of Celebrini, that's our second topic of the day. We got to go quick with this one, guys. We only have
I got to catch my flight down to...
Shank's got to catch a flight.
Down to Anaheim to LA. Thank you, guys, everybody who contributed to the travel fund. So that's taking me down to Anaheim, to LA, to Vegas, and to the first Utah game.
All right. Macklin Celebrini is gone. He is. That
is not what Mike Grier said.
That is not what he said. He said, don't expect him we'll reevaluate in 2 weeks. His status kind of was the way that he put it. I guess he was kind of tired of like, will he or won't he? What are we doing? Just give me 2 weeks.
They didn't say anything.
I know.
I literally asked Ryan Warsofsky right when they announced that they put Celebrini on IR, and I did the math. I was like, okay, the first game he come off IR is Winnipeg, but that's on a road trip. That's a back-to-back. Macklin's got to fly himself there. So it's kind of weird. It was very unlikely that Macklin would ever play that game, even if Macklin was totally healthy. And I asked them, and whatever, marching orders from up top or whatever, Warsofsky was like, I wouldn't rule him out. So I have to report what he said. Even if I know that this is very, very unlikely, and he knows it's very, very unlikely. And so,
it's kind of dumb.
All I'm saying is that, like, don't put it on us for asking the questions that they're not answering. So,
it's kind of dumb. I don't know why they even bothered.
But I'll
maybe
give Mike credit for answering ahead and saving Ryan Warsofsky some hassle over the next couple of weeks from me, because I'll be the only one on this road trip, I believe. Only Sharks reporter on this road trip. So saving him some grief from me.
I know that they're saying, and this is just my pessimistic side, I know that they're saying 2 weeks, like, till we reevaluate. But even then, I feel so, not like, what's the word? I feel like it's going to be much longer than 2 weeks. Like, I don't believe the 2 weeks. I believe that it's like something where it's like, maybe if everything goes well and the phases of the moon are correct and I don't know, miracle happens, 2 weeks, but it's more like 4 or so.
Well, let's be very, very clear though. When Mike Grier said 2 weeks, he didn't say 2 weeks as a target, as in like he's going to be ready in 2 weeks, but just
he says we'll see.
Give an update in 2 weeks and we'll see. And it sounds like the injury is of a kind where they were, again, not specific, but they did confirm it was a hip injury. but they weren't specific about how it's going to heal and that sort of thing. It does sound like kind of thing that maybe will heal on its own, that sort of thing, right? So it is a true we'll see in 2 weeks. So I have really no sense of how bad it is. I
Mm-hmm.
personally do not think it's that bad. This would be my guess. That's the stuff that I have heard from people. In my initial report about the hip injury, my source said that he didn't think it was that serious. And so now we're kind of bending. Well, if Macklin Celebrini has to miss 3 weeks to 4 weeks with a hip injury, is that really serious? I don't know. Maybe that is serious, as opposed to like, when I think of a serious injury, I think a guy's out for a season, a guy's out for 3 to 4 months, whatever, right? A
Yeah.
guy out for a couple of weeks, that is bad, but I don't count it serious. So I still stick with that original line of thinking from people that I talk to, that it's still trends toward the more positive side. And so I
We'll see
yeah,
in
we'll
2 weeks.
see, but I'm not as pessimistic as you are. I guess I'll leave it
Yeah.
at that.
I've been burned by Couture and the Celebrini thing, and just like years and years of the Sharks being like, yeah, day to day, and Joe Thornton like tearing a ligament and being day to day, and all sorts of stuff that
Sure.
been burned. But either way, it's it is what it is the best way to put it. You can't force him back, and you want him to be as healthy as possible to come um, play for the Sharks. And even though we were all excited about that one game and it felt like a new era in Sharks hockey, we have to keep waiting. So just be patient, I guess.
Yeah.
Sadly. But it is interesting that he mentioned Rick Celebrini being involved in his at least plan of recovery.
Sharks. Rick Celebrini and the Celebrini family will be around.
Mhm.
And obviously Mike Grier, Mike Potenza, they will probably be around too.
Yeah,
And so if I guess the way to put it is that if all parties are working in concert, this is a good thing, because you have two foremost experts in Potenza and Celebrini
for sure.
working off of each other, not working together, because again, Mike Potenza is the head of, I believe it's sports or performance for the Sharks. So it's Mike Potenza. Yeah. By the way, though, hopefully Mac is back sooner than later. The Sharks need him.
Yes, they do.
that we can all, that we can all certainly agree on.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely do. We miss you, Mac. All right. Greer also mentioned a few other prospects that we're going to talk about, including Kasper Halttunen and Luca Cagnoni.
And both are able to. The Sharks can still send them back to their junior leagues, their respective junior leagues. They
Yep.
have until about the trade deadline, CHL trade deadline. I'm not sure if there's a blanket CHL trade deadline or if it's specific to the leagues, but
Different dates for the leagues, I'm pretty sure.
they're roughly about the same
Yep.
days, though. It's in early January.
Yep.
And anyway, it was interesting that Mike was pretty. It sounded like Luca, as I've reported before, that Luca is going to stay here.
Yeah.
And when I reported it, I was pretty certain of it. Obviously, if Cagnoni was disastrous, I think it was actually during rookie faceoff I reported it. So if Cagnoni was disastrous in the scrimmages and preseason game, okay. But barring that, he was going to stay, and they kind of knew he was going to stay. And actually, I talked with Luca, and Luca already has a place with Jake Furlong and Braden Hache. So hopefully Luca is staying, because otherwise those guys are going to be stuck with a very expensive apartment for two people in San Jose.
Yeah.
Kasper, though, Mike did seem a bit more hesitant about it, which kind of lines up with what we have observed about Kasper Halttunen's game. And I watched the Barracuda home opener. I watched very specifically Kasper Halttunen, and the shot plays, obviously, which is very impressive. That a 19-year-old shot plays as a number one option on a power play, which is basically they were trying to set up Halttunen on that first power play unit the whole time.
Sure.
And that's impressive. He's definitely strong enough for the league too. He laid a crunching hit. He's definitely strong enough. But again, apart from all that stuff, though, like carrying the puck to the neutral zone, he doesn't really have that. He's got to give it to somebody. Things like that. Uh, Defensive play. There's still issues there, and so it's not as clear cut as a Cagnoni. Cagnoni has defensive issues still, and I'm going to say this flat out. People aren't going to like it. He's not ready to defend at NHL level at this specific moment. I'm not saying that he won't be in 3 months or 2 months or whatever, but at this specific moment, from what I saw, I don't think he's ready for it. But I think he's getting there, though. I'm not. It sounds like I'm putting him down, but I'm not, though.
Yeah.
He has impressed me really at every turn, and he defended better than maybe I expected. Still, not NHL level, but still better than I expected. And so he's doing fine basically. The offense is there from what we've seen already, but even without the goal here, he has 2 goals, I think. But just watching him, the same kind of cool and calm that we saw in the preseason, in the scrimmages at rookie faceoff, he's brought over to the AHL, which is very, very impressive. And so the offense basically it's there.
Yep.
And so the defense is going to be the question mark. And this is the right place for him to work on it because he's basically facing guys that are as big and strong and fast as they are at the NHL, just not as good in specific areas. So this is where he should be. Halttunen, on the other hand, though, yeah, Mike Grier said that, yeah, if I'm going to send him back, it's going to be sooner than later. So even though Mike does have till January, it doesn't sound like Mike's going to wait till January. And also too that he alluded to, yeah, London's got a good team. It's not fair for them to wait too long. And so I think if he does send Halttunen back, that we should focus instead on Halttunen making it this far, because honestly, after rookie faceoff, we both agreed we didn't think that he would be here still.
Yeah. He mentioned he wanted him to play like the big minutes in London,
right,
with the good team. I think it's like, I wonder how, maybe a couple more games and then we'll see. And unless he starts like, putting up 3 goals a night, you can't really get him out of here. But if he does, then great. And
he's had a nice shot with the Barracuda. He's been on the top power play unit. He's been on, or is he? Wait, is this second or top? Wait, I might be confusing things, but he's gotten a lot of power play time. Regardless, it's not like the Sharks where PP1 is out there for like a minute 30, minute 45, or whatever. Yeah. So he's gotten good power play time, and he's on a top 9 line. So he's getting time. So I think he's playing with, I think it's is it Beasted, and I gotta check.
I think that was the last line.
My tweets, but yeah, so he's playing with good players at 5-on-5 too. Good AHL players at 5-on-5. And I guess before we move on from the Barracuda too, I did want to mention too that Mike specifically shouted out a few guys who have got off to a good start with the Barracuda. So prospects, so it's good to mention. Obviously, Askarov with 2 shutouts so far. Oh, yeah. And Philip Beasted. He mentioned Philip Beasted. He mentioned somebody else too, right? I don't know if you remember who.
Cagnoni, Furlong. You mentioned Furlong doing well.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody else.
Okay.
Furlong. Maybe he mentioned Graf. Graf's been doing.
Oh, Graf, that's what he mentioned. Yeah. Yes. No, it was Colin Graf. He actually don't even know if he mentioned Furlong. I remember he mentioned. Maybe he did. But Colin Graf for sure, and Beasted. Yeah, Philip.
Yes.
Yeah. So those are the 2 Sharks prospects that he definitely made a point of shouting out. Obviously, Askarov. So he also wouldn't share who told Askarov to go easy on the celebrations. So that'll be my life's goal, guys, to get you that information so we can send that guy hate mail. So
yeah, he said it wasn't you said it wasn't a popular decision.
It wasn't a popular decision.
Yeah. Want a little
bit
of
spice.
Look
at my comments. It's definitely not a popular decision. So
a little bit of spice. Yeah, Halttunen last game was on the 3rd line with White and Sabrin.
Oh, I'm sorry. White was his okay. That's I think White has been his line mate the whole 9. But yeah, so those are legit AHL players.
Yeah, for sure. And then the top 2 lines, Podorowski and Beasted as the top 2 centers, and then
Graf has moved up too.
Yeah, Graf got the first line. So.
Yeah, I think he started off the season on the lower line.
Yeah, and honestly, it's been like it's really cool that the Barracuda have started off so hot. In part helped by Askarov and his 2 shutouts, but also some offensive output for sure.
They've actually played very well though. The home opener, they outplayed Iowa, who I actually checked with the scout. And I just asked him, just like, Iowa, like, look at their roster. Is this a good team? Because I don't really know. We always talk about this. I don't really know AHL. Like, I know what these guys look like when they get to the NHL, but I don't know what they're supposed to be in the AHL necessarily. And he told me, yeah, Iowa's got a pretty good roster. And the Sharks, the first 2 periods, they really stifled Iowa. They loosened up in the third period. They already had built the lead, and obviously Iowa was pushing. So Askarov had to make some incredible saves in the third period. But this is not a case where it's Askarov bailing them out. This is actually Askarov. They're both helping each other. Askarov is making the saves he needs to make, and some special ones too along the way. And the Barracuda are making life easier for him, which is, this is a good team. This is should be a much better Barracuda team.
Love it. We got, I guess, clear as mud answers about Quentin Musty. We had some clarity, but also some muddiness, I think.
Yes. Oh, can I stop you there really quick, though? So,
what's up?
The first power play unit was Cagnoni, Beestead, Bailey, Polarowski, and Halttunen. So, just want
okay. There it is.
Yeah, clarify that part of it. But yes, we got a update on Quentin Musty.
Some clarification, but also some
well, basically, the Sharks want something to happen.
Yes.
And this is too long. That's what Mike Grier made very, very clear. And we don't know what's going on with that, so I'm tracking back on that. So maybe I'll have an update for you guys soon. But yeah, I've been on the road, so I kind of forgot about it for a few days. But yeah, he still hasn't been moved yet, so this is kind of getting a little bit ridiculous. And I do know we saw Sudbury's letter, and so I think it's, if you read that letter, read between the lines. I think it's you can say that there is some contentiousness here.
Yeah,
I guess that's a nice way of putting it. So let's and maybe that is part of the problem that we're dealing with here. But either way, something's gotta give here.
Yeah, Sudbury's played 10 games so far, so he's already missed 10 games. I know some of that might have been impacted by him.
Maybe
being
one
in
or two
camp.
of them, but
yeah. So probably 8 games or so, and these start to add up. And like Mike was saying, he's got, wherever he goes, he's got basically a month to prove to USA Hockey that he's deserving of being on the World Junior Championship.
Yeah.
So he's got to be the guy wherever he goes, and he made that very clear, which I thought was interesting, because it was a goal. He also said it was a goal of Quentin Musty's to make the World Junior team after not making it last year. So
of course.
And I don't know who pushed him on, what went, like somebody asked, I don't know if it was you or not, about what went into the decision behind it, and Grier didn't really have an answer. He was just like, I don't know, it's a decision they made kind of thing.
Well, my interpretation was, it wasn't my question, but my interpretation was that he just didn't want to give it away, that it was between the team and Musty's camp and that sort of thing. That's the impression that I kind of understood.
So we'll see, I suppose. We'll check back in 2 weeks. How's that? Everything happens in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, we'll have another episode in 2 weeks. So Celebrini is back and Musty is in London. So.
There it is. I don't know. This is a weird, strange time for this. A holdout in junior leagues is super interesting. All this unprecedented stuff the Sharks are doing.
Yeah,
well, not even the Sharks doing it, but Sharks prospects, I guess.
It is some unusual stuff for sure.
All right. Lastly, we're going to talk briefly, we only have a couple minutes here, about the slow start for the Sharks, and then some bright spots, because we
saved the worst for last and to spend as little time as possible to talk about it.
Sharks are bad, y'all. I'm not wearing a jersey this week because Sharks are bad. I've gotta bring that back. I haven't even worn a jersey because they've been just so bad.
Are you gonna just be jerseyless and protest until Celebrini comes back?
No, I want to win.
Lord and Savior returns.
When they get a win, I will put a jersey on that week because it's a win is a win, and they have none right now.
Have you decided which Celebrini jersey you're gonna get? Like what?
I like the teal.
Black,
I like
the white. Okay.
I like teal for Celebrini. I like white for Smith, I think,
Okay.
and then Eklund. I want the Cali Finn. So that's
Okay.
on my jersey lineup.
Okay.
I gotta get each one, and then Gushin, if he starts popping in goals, I think I'll go for a teal one as well.
Okay.
But he's got to stick around this team. I haven't been able to, quack a lot, I guess. He's doing all right.
Yeah. We'll start with Gushin. We're not going to get into the 25-minute conversation about Gushin because I know that you guys love or hate it, but mostly hate it sounds like. Blame Keegan.
They didn't hate it. I feel like there was a lot of people that were like,
I get complaints about it.
Oh, do you? Yes. I don't know. No, I mean, like, all of the comments were like, why the hell is Gushin not playing? And then he played, so it's fine. I'm happy he got a chance, even though the Sharks did terrible anyway.
I like Gushin, of course. I always say this, so that is my sort of, how do I say it? I say that preemptively, so...
Cool.
So the goose truthers don't kill me, but
they're gonna murder
you guys need to calm down about this a little bit. You guys are treating Gushin like and you and I talked about this. You guys are treating him like he is a actual 20 goal scorer in the NHL as opposed to a theoretical one, which is what he really is.
Yeah.
And
I just wanted the boy to play. And I'm happy.
I hear you. I wanted him. Look, I could have played him all the games, so I had no issue with it. But if the Sharks are playing well, then the Sharks are playing well. You're not. Again, you're talking about a theoretical guy who maybe he can add that offense, right? If you give him a chance, and of course you're gonna say if he doesn't get a chance, how do we know? I know. But what I would say to that is that he is going to get a chance, and he is getting a chance now. And he's played fine, but
needs more.
He does need more. Yeah. I think that again, if you're going to lean on teammates, power play time is not PP1, okay, I get that, or line mates. I mean, not teammates, line mates, but he's got to grab it a little bit. This is a big chance for him. Celebrini is out. Now we know Smith is on this development plan, which we didn't know at the time. Kostin has been very inconsistent.
Yeah,
they're not pulling Cuttin out a million times. I'm not gonna talk 25 minutes about Cuttin either. But Cuttin
let's do a Luke Cuttin podcast.
But even you agree, though, Cuttin has been better this year. He's shown more pop with his step, and it is an actual legitimate skill to be there for the chance, to be in the right places for the chances, even if obviously you missed the net. But I would say that on the Sharks, I'm just guessing. I don't know this for a fact, but grade A chances this year for the Sharks at 5-on-5. Probably Luke is up there. I think Eklund has had a lot of great chances too, and probably Toffoli because that's Toffoli's trade. But those three probably stand out as the guys that have probably had the best chances on the Sharks.
My only annoyance with Cuttin again is that not only does he gets in the right spot and he receives excellent passes and he's right there. It's not even that he doesn't score; he just doesn't hit the damn net. Like he misses the net so much, and he just has to hit the net. Sure, not even why, just hit the net. Something will happen because it's at least twice a game that you're like, oh, Cuttin's in the slot, miss the net, and you could say it over and over. Anyway, it's nothing that's but it is a skill to be in the right place. It's just if he could just hone it in to just hit the net. Anyway, they're not going to take him out because he's still playing well overall.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to count all the forwards here, but I think he has been easily a top 9 forward for the Sharks this year. Especially among the healthy ones. So you're taking Celebrini out. There's no reason really to take him out for Gushin. There is a reason to take Kostin out, which the Sharks did. But there was, like I said last week, there's a reason to keep Kostin in because Kostin's physical package is really, really impressive. And Kostin has actually scored some goals at the AHL level. Yeah. But the counter argument is let's give Goose a chance. And so I'm happy for that. But now he's got to take it. And so far, I think he's been I've seen some good plays, and I'm sure this makes the Goose truthers and the Cunnin haters laugh. There was a play yesterday against Colorado that Gushin did incredible work to stick handle it out of the defensive zone, and he hits Cunnin with a long pass, and then Cunnin loses it on the first the first poke check by the defense. That's Cunnin's strength is more it's positional. He does have a good shot, but he does miss the net a lot. But he has a quick release.
He does.
He obviously will throw his body out at any time, block shots, whatever. I did that against Winnipeg. Or maybe it was Chicago. I think it was Winnipeg. I don't know. They were down by a lot. He's still throwing his body. Oh, he scored that. It was the Winnipeg game. They're down 5-2. He's or 5-1. He's doing his best to keep the game as close as possible. These are all good things that he does. But yeah, I thought that moment would make Gushin fans laugh. But anyway, though,
give him time. Hopefully, he has enough time in the lineup to get more adjusted. I think.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I mean, I do think that you are right, though, that he's not going to get the rope that obviously Celebrini and Smith have. We've discussed that already for obvious reasons, draft status, all that kind of thing, right? He's not going to get the rope that Cunnin and Gaudreau have because those players offer a wealth of other things that Gushin really doesn't offer.
Sure.
And until he turns that theoretical scoring ability into actual scoring ability at NHL level, then he's not going to make it. Like, he does try defensively. His battle that's probably why he's here. He's made it this far. His battle is surprisingly good compete. We've heard this before. This is why I've rated Gushin ahead of Borrello consistently, because everybody has been impressed by, even back to the AHL, with Gushin's compete as a smaller player. That's not an issue with him, but it does have to impact on the offensive side.
Yeah, you got to earn this spot. And
right.
It's interesting that they put it back on the power play, too, for this next upcoming game, it sounds like, at least in practice. That's
he's not on power play the last couple games, but it is PP2 that doesn't get as much time. And I know there's an argument to put Smith up there, too. We actually talked with Warsawski about that today. And that might happen eventually with Smith, maybe not with Gushin. We'll see. But, yeah.
Yeah, the current scoreless forwards for the Sharks that have no points, are 1 game, Giovanni Smith has no points. 3 games, Gushin has no points. Kostin, 4 games, no points. Smith, 5 games, no points. And then the most surprising one, Alex Wenberg, 6 games, no points.
Yeah, we still need to start checking on him, because I like a lot of Alex's game, but obviously you hope for more offense, and he is getting PP1 time, and so he's got to kind of turn it on and kind of contribute there. He's not expected to be a big scorer for the Sharks, but he's got to do something there.
Yeah, and back to that point, like, a bunch of dudes have 1 point. Dellandrea, Cunnin, Goodrow, Grundstrom, Sturm, all 1 point. So it really feels like we're like a 3 or 4 player team at the forward group right now.
Right.
And that's honestly what we're going to talk about, is the players that are actually doing pretty well.
Good segue.
Yeah, right? Look at that. Toffoli has 7 points in 6 games, and he is our team leader in points. And
goals.
And goals. He has 4 goals. Mikael Granlund has 6 points, 6 assists in 6 games, and Eklund has 4 points in 5 games.
And give Zetterlund credit, too. Zetterlund is not shooting as much as you want him to do. Partly, I think, because he wasn't getting a lot of chances earlier this season. Partly, on Smith's line, I don't know if he was getting enough passes and whatnot. But Zetterlund has been able to pop in a couple goals, even
right place, right time kind of thing.
Yeah. So I don't give him credit for that. But yeah, the main 3 guys you mentioned, though, Eklund, Granlund, and Toffoli. So which of those players do you think is number 1 in offense generating plays on the Sharks? And remember, we talked about it 30 minutes ago. Will Smith is actually number 2 for offense generating plays among Sharks forwards. But
probably
who is number 1?
Probably
Granlund by a mile.
I would imagine he creates plays every time he has the puck, and he's the most consistent.
Clear MVP on the Sharks so far, right? Obvious penalties, right? He's taking a couple more than you like, but consistently being a offensive, defensive presence, an energetic presence on both sides. That's with skill, high skill. That's Granlund.
Yeah, and Toffoli's been excellent too.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in different ways, right? He's just more of that like calm, steadying presence as opposed to just like tons of creation. But yeah, I love Toffoli. I feel like
I was
he's been
talking
really good.
with Corey Massasak of Denver Post, I think. Obviously, you guys know Corey covered the Sharks for the Athletic for a couple of years there, but he was in town for the Avalanche game, and we were talking about Toffoli, and what Toffoli has is in basketball circles they call it old man game. And
That's absolutely true.
and what it is if you're not a big basketball fan, is basically that like old dude on the court that is not the fastest player, but he just got all these like post moves and jukes and whatnot. And so by the end of the pickup game, he's clearly the best player. He's got the most points.
No.
Even if he's not running around, he's not a young buck running around. And that's Toffoli. I actually told Toffoli that, and he didn't take it as an insult.
No, it's
I had to explain
absolutely.
to him. I had to say, like, I asked, like, Tyler, are you a basketball fan? He's like, no, not really. It's like, okay. So you have in basketball what is described as, don't take offense, as an old man game. And so I explained it to him. At the end of it, he understood where I was getting at. And my favorite example of this is, and he didn't take credit for it, and I wish he had, because it was a great example of it, was look at that Chicago goal that he scored, and look at how he's in front of the net. Nolan Allen, the Chicago defenseman, just a 22-year-old, 5'11", smaller guy too. He's trying to he's trying to come back and cover Toffoli. And the second that Allen gets there, Toffoli pivots, and he pivots in a way that like it's not like he moved out of his way. He's in position, so you can't call him for interference. But he pivots in a way that makes it possible to throw Allen off balance, and Allen falls. And that's why on that goal is a great pass by William Eklund. Eklund was able to go wide on his defender. I think it was Connor Murphy. That's why Toffoli was wide open, because Toffoli basically hip checked not hip checked, but he basically hipped away the defenseman that was trying to cover him. And he turned at the exact moment Allen was there, and Toffoli would not give away. I don't know if I totally believe Tyler. Tyler says no, I wasn't doing it on purpose. If you watch the play, though, it looks like he totally did it on purpose and totally legal. So anyway, that's an example of old man game. I love it. Go watch that goal. That honestly might be, besides Macklin's pass to Toffoli in the first game, that Will Smith breaking Gerard's ankles. Anyway, that's one of my favorite plays so far from this year, watching Toffoli do that.
It just seems like and that's the repetition thing, right? The thousands and thousands and thousands of plays in front of the net, and the strength and the smarts to just, And it was a great addition by Mike Grier. Because honestly, what would this team be without like Toffoli and Granlund right now?
The Jay-Z meme.
Which Jay-Z meme?
Oh, when he enters a room.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I think that's, and we'll talk about Eklund in a second, but I think that's kind of.
Let's close with Eklund, because I gotta jump on my flight. So
yeah, and that's kind of the difference between this year and last year, is that it feels like they're a little bit more competitive and a little bit more in games.
They are.
It feels like it, at least.
Yeah.
Even though the wins haven't come yet, but
Eklund is better.
We'll address the defense another day, I think. But
well, even the defense is not great, but it's better. Wallman and Cece have been positive additions.
Yes.
The bottom six is better, so the record looks bad. Winnipeg was really, really bad, but I think the wins are coming. Oh, I don't want to say one thing about the Winnipeg game too, that I'm gonna write a story about it too, but I'm gonna put it on the podcast. Nico Sturm insists that what he said about video games, that was just a figure of speech.
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
that sounded bad at the moment, and so he insists. So I just want to put it out there. I'm gonna put a story out too. But
wasn't there like a thing 7-8 years ago about like a Winnipeg prospect in video games?
Something like that. Yeah, his career was ruined. I had this theory that Joe Thornton with his Fortnite game, for his Fortnite playing. Joe Thornton was
That's what it
leading the Sharks astray by making all the Sharks play Fortnite with him.
Yep.
That was my grand conspiracy
that's
theory.
the
But
Celebrini hip injury is just a
it's just him playing
injury.
Fortnite.
Yeah, he's just gonna play Fortnite. For
Anyway,
3
so
months.
again, Nico Sturm says that was just a figure of speech. So
Yeah.
I didn't ask the follow up. That's why I didn't make a big deal of it at the time, because I heard what he said and I was like, "What did he just say?" And I didn't ask him. And I talked with Nico today, and Nico again insists. So
Yeah.
okay. So anyway, let's close
All right.
off with William Eklund.
Yeah, I just wanted to make the quick point that all of last year was the big development year for William Eklund, and we saw tons and tons of improvement from the very beginning of the year towards the end, and now it's kind of come to fruition where Eklund is a consistent top 6 player for the Sharks, and just keep that in mind as we go forward with Smith and Celebrini and all these other young guys, is that there was a plan for Eklund. Eklund obviously was a great talent coming out of his draft year, but it took a careful hand to turn him into an NHL top 6 forward, and that's right now that's what he is. And I think that's awesome. It takes time, so just be a little patient.
I agree with you that it takes time, but the first year was a little bit of a mess because they sent him to Djurgården. The Djurgården was awful.
We're not talking about that first year. It's a different regime. That was a different time. That was a whole other mess. God, I don't want to talk about
the patience that he had with Eklund the second year, when I think he was ready for NHL time, and they left him in the AHL, and unfortunately he got hurt there, but he played most of the year there, and he also got better in the AHL. He did get better. His shot got better, right? We saw that, right?
Yep. More
he
physical.
got stronger, obviously.
Yep.
So yes, that's a great point. And William Macklin and Will Smith are more normal prospects. We're incredibly talented, but it takes time. They don't just step in and pop in 60, 70 points like, single tier Macklin probably would have done. He's not going to miss a month here, but
yeah. So just it takes time, and the talent will win out if the player is willing to change their game and improve, and it seems like both those guys do, and Smith is. So everybody, I feel like it's just every day all we hear about is Will Smith, and it's honestly like a little bit. It's been 6 games. We're gonna be fine, guys. And I put out a tweet that said something to the same effect. Like, I didn't think he's been good, but it also doesn't really matter. Like, he's gonna have this entire year to get better. So that's all.
Yeah, really I guess I'd add one more story that I feel really bad about this. In Chicago at practice, I met Will's mom. Very nice woman, Colleen. Has family in Chicago. They had a huge contingent of Smith family friends at the Chicago game. So I'm glad that Will played really well in that game. But after that, though, I had to ask Will questions about not scoring. The story that I put out, which I thought was very measured. It was just basically Smith off to a slow start, but Warsawski has patience. Also, Warsawski sees good signs. And so anyway, I felt bad about that, but I had to do my job.
Anyway, y'all, this is going to be a quick episode. We will see you sometime next week with 4 straight Sharks victories over the next week in the road trip. That's what it is. I'm calling it now. 4 straight Sharks wins. Boom. And I will wear 2 jerseys if that happens.
Macklin who?
Macklin who? Yeah. All hail Will Smith and
the Williams, the Will Williams.
The Wilsai is the official.
Yeah.
Well,
that's right. That's right.
That was the old term.
Yeah, bring that back. I like that. Bring that back.
Yeah. Shout out to JD. All right. Have a good week, y'all. Bye.